So currently I think it's like minus 300 degrees in Canada right now. And we are currently walking through my first ever house. And as you can see, they tore it down and they replaced it with this beautiful parking lot. But yeah, I guess the house would have been right about here, actually. And then my brother and I started our first ever business selling lemonade. And in the summer, we would come down here onto this, busy Canadian road, and we would set up a little lemonade stand, and we would sell lemonade for 25 cents. And then I would actually draw pictures of people's dogs or them, and I would sell them to them for like 50 cents. And I remember at one point even a reporter came by and he actually did a story on us, and we ended up in the newspaper. And that was a pretty big deal, all right? In like 1995, that was a pretty big thing to be in the newspaper. But yeah, so this is where it all started. So this is the second house I ever lived in. It was my brother's room up there. My sister's room was in that corner, and my room was actually around the back. And that's the first time I started a quote unquote successful business of my own. But unfortunately, in 2008, I think, in the great, economic collapse, my dad ended up losing his business, and we ended up losing the savings, the cars, and eventually even the house. And I haven't really been back here since, so it's a little bit bittersweet, actually. Hey. Yes, I lived there when I was a kid.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. So we're just shooting a little bit for a documentary I'm working on.
Oh, what are you working on?
It's
Houses?
No, no, actually, it's a documentary called Age of the Entrepreneur.
Right. He's home for a couple of weeks.
So it's mostly empty.
Mostly.
Yeah.
But he does have someone living in the apartment over there.
Oh, right. The carriage house, yeah. That was my dad's office.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be nice if it did have a family that filled it up again.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe one day I'll buy it back.
Yeah, well, your mom keeps saying.
Yeah.
I want that house.
Yes.
back.
Well, it was good to see you.
Yes, take care.
Absolutely, you too. So after that, my dad took me, my brother, my sister, and my mom, and we all moved into my grandmother's house, and we started just rebuilding from the ground up. Because I guess even though we lost everything, we never really lost hope, I guess you could say. And that's something that my dad really, really instilled in us. And so I guess that's part of the reason why I want to make this movie, is that if I can make a movie that gives even one person a little bit of hope, I think it's a movie worth making. So would you rather work for somebody else, or would you rather be your own boss?
Depending. I think in a perfect world you want to be your own boss.
Be my own boss.
In a perfect world, my own boss.
Be your own boss.
Yeah, be my own boss.
Always.
Yeah.
Probably be my own boss.
My own boss.
Probably be my own boss.
Probably be my own boss. I believe in being your own boss, not working for someone. I don't think you're gonna get rich by working for somebody else. You're only gonna get rich being an entrepreneur, or like being investing or something like that. That's the only way you're gonna get rich, not working for somebody else.
I think right now we're in an age where everyone's selling the dream of entrepreneurship, like freedom,
power, money, yachts, women, money, money, money. You know, like you look on Instagram and you follow a certain group of pages and it's the same like cool dude with the shades and it's like motivational quote, like you can have this life, brother. And it's like, okay, like you're kind of overselling it a little bit.
Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills.
And so the myth is that once you start a company, it's all going to be great because I don't have that boss anymore and I have free time, right? But you have this new boss and he's with you 24/7 and he's maniacal. He's oftentimes an a-hole. You know who the boss is? It's yourself.
So is now a good time to be an entrepreneur? Wow. I don't know what your choice is, literally.
What are the chances a robot or computer will one day take over your job?
The computerization of jobs is the biggest shift in the job market, you know, since the Industrial Revolution.
So does that mean he could take a human's job like mine?
You better believe it.
How did I get in this taxi? The door open, you got in.
Is your retirement plan to A, hope for Social Security to stay solvent, or B, stash money in a 401k, or C, drop dead 3 weeks after you leave your job for good?
We are the first generation to be spit out into the world without a mandate on what we're supposed to do. Older generations had a map. And of course, hindsight's 2020, and I'm sure it was definitely hard for everyone to get their first start. But you listen to some of the conversations that your parents or grandparents will have, and they'll say things like, yeah, you know, when I was in college, I just worked part-time on the weekends. I was able to pay my tuition, and then I got a house, and yeah, it worked out pretty well. And I don't know why kids aren't just doing what I did.
You're in the old days, you know, this isn't a gold watch, but in the old days, you know, that was the way it went, right? You worked for a company for 40 years. At the end, you retired, they gave you a gold watch. Everything's great. There's nobody working for a company for 40 years because there's no companies 40 years, basically, you know, just a few. And they've changed over 58 times.
Video rental chain Blockbuster has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection.
The biggest toy store chain in the world.
I'm a Toys R Us kid.
Now facing a very grown-up problem, filing for bankruptcy and $5 billion in long-term debt.
For decades, Eastman Kodak dominated the world of film photography with its iconic yellow boxes of film. But that was then. This is now. The photography pioneer filed today for Chapter 11, federal bankruptcy protection after 132 years in business.
And I don't know, I couldn't think of a worse situation for people than to be at the mercy of someone else. Well, the economy's not doing so good this week. Our stock is down, Joe, so you're gonna have to go. What? I'm doing a great job. Well, we gotta cut corners somewhere. It comes from above somewhere. Sorry, it's not me. I mean, I don't want to be in that position.
You know, post-industrial revolution, you could always be an entrepreneur, okay? But the thing different about today is you can moonlight entrepreneurism.
Internet is a whole group of networks.
2007, I wondered, why would Time magazine make the computer the person of the year? Because for the first time in the history of the world, with your phone, you can create a global business.
And we are calling it iPhone.
This is the best time in the history of the world. More millionaires are being created than ever before. In their teens and some younger. Yes, this is an incredible time for entrepreneurs. We have all the tools we need.
I can say there's never been a better time. There's things called rapid development. What that means is if you want to go out and create a website, you can pop a website up, buy a domain, get it hosted, and be up in 30 minutes with a WordPress theme that looks like you paid $30,000 to have it done 10 years ago when I got started.
When I grew up, we didn't have the internet. We had one phone on the wall, and it was one of these kind of things. So nowadays, it's so easy to start trying to be an entrepreneur because you can build what looks like a multi-billion-dollar business for a couple $100.
When I started, so I didn't get my first email account until I was in college. I didn't get my first access to the internet until I was out of college. So now, so I'm obsessed with learning about the microbiome. That's like a big thing for me right now. And so I'm reading books on this stuff, and I have to look up like every third word. And when I think about how easy it is to just go to Google, literally type it in, it guesses what I'm going for, and then it will, I don't even have to hit enter, and it populates like the answer that I'm looking for. I mean, it's incredible. You can go to YouTube, drop something in, get the answer right there. It is unbelievable. Amazon Web Services, like for dirt cheap. Like you can throw up a website and you can host it. I mean, it is unbelievable. You can 3D print, dude. Like you can 3D print. You can literally just imagine something, and for a couple grand, you can buy the machine that will print in like multiple materials and make this thing. Like it's nuts. So yeah, never been a better time.
This is the greatest time to be an entertainer, a creative person in general, or an entrepreneur. We are in the Wild West there's a boom coming, and the TV money is going away from TV and it's going to us, and it's freaking awesome because I'm so sick of pitching my ideas to old white fat dudes who won't even think it's funny, and then I do it myself and it gets bajillions of views. And I'm like, I told you, you still think we need another cop show. Fuck you. Like, that's my mini rant on that.
The whole world has now gotten the ability to stream live from their phone. Now I think about my life as a kid, and to me that sounds like a fantasy. That's some Jetson shit. You know, and now someone in Bangladesh can live stream and I'll look at them. And the interesting and amazing part isn't that we can do it, it's that we think it's normal. And this has only happened in a short period of time, so I can't even begin to imagine what's gonna happen 2, 5, and 10 years from now, what will become the new norm for us, where that will push us to mentally, because if live streaming from Bangladesh to Los Angeles is normal, what else will be normal?
So although it seemed clear that now was the best time to become an entrepreneur, what wasn't clear was where to begin.
First step is really figure out what's your why. Because if you're passionate about something, if you want to learn about it, whether it's monetizable or not, that's a really good sign that that's going to be an area where you're going to be able to be unique.
I would say start with what you love. Like a lot of times it's right under our nose and people don't see it. There's someone that I recently coached who was in finance, like bought into the whole finance job. Like you're gonna make money, you're gonna have this, you're gonna have that, and was miserable. This person loved yoga. Went to yoga every single day, part of his rituals, part of his thing that he did. So I said, what about yoga? Well, I can't make money off yoga. Oh, really? Says who? Says you. Based on what story? Now, flash forward, this person has private clients who are paying him and flying him all over the world, making an absurd amount of money to do what he loves.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up.
What you spend most of your time on, most of your money on, what you invest in, what you love talking to others about. I have this question I ask everyone. If you had a gun to your head and you were to write a book within the next 2 weeks, what could you write about? And everybody has at least something that they could quite comfortably sit and write a 250, 300 page book about that they know themselves for sure, and they can put the energy into. And so that would be their top value. And so have a look at your business, have a look at your life. What are you filling your life and your business with? Are you filling it with what you value most? If you're not, then you're gonna be very unfulfilled.
Here's what people don't understand is that every single person knows something or has been through something that can help someone else. So if I told you today you could get paid for something you already know how to do, people would be like, wait, what? But the truth is that if you think about all of your life experience, you've been through something, you've researched something, you've learned about something, you've gotten yourself results, you've gotten someone else results. We all have done something or know something that could impact others. And if we are holding that back, we're actually holding our gifts away from other people that could learn from us or that could grow from us or that could save time because of us. Every single person has something out there that they could sell, knowledge. It doesn't even have to be a product, it could just be knowledge that they could make money off of, but also impact. Like when you think about, I mean, I could teach courses on just about anything. I could teach courses on not eating gluten. I could teach courses on how to run a marathon. I could teach courses on being a mom. I could teach the world so many things because the experiences life has given me, good and bad. So if somebody's sitting on their butt saying, oh, I wish I had a gift, you have a gift. You're just not seeing it as a gift. You have a superpower, you're ignoring it. You have something to share. And you're not believing that. And I think it all comes from a state of not feeling worthy enough to put something out there.
I know a guy, one of my clients, he said to me, I said, what's your passion and expertise? He says, you know those Subarus and auto body, you know, the kits and all that? I said, yeah. He says, I want to teach people how to do auto body from home. And I said, that will never work. And he goes, no, I said, you might have a passion and expertise. There's not a market out there for people learning how to do this at home. He says, no, I said, you know what? I don't think it's going to work, but who am I to tell me? Please prove me wrong. He proved me wrong. $380,000 a year teaching people how to do auto body paint from home, and he's doing it just with YouTube videos. Look him up online. Just type how to do auto body at home. If a short little Spanish kid shows up, that's the guy, and he'll probably be the #1 video. And yeah, he's doing several $100,000 a year teaching people. So don't let me tell you it's not going to work, because I was wrong. If you've got a passion and expertise, there's an audience out there looking to learn from you.
If you have a really specific curiosity or passion or expertise or skill, it can be any of those things, can be a combination of those things, then think about really niching down until it actually hurts. Like saying, you know what, I'm not just gonna do, a show on fishing. I'm gonna do a show on fishing in Canada. And not just fishing in Canada, but trout fishing in the rivers of Northwest Canada. Guess what? That's not going to resonate with everybody. But the people that resonates with, it's really going to resonate with them.
Right now, we have so much content, so many ways to market to people, that now what you can do is you can create a product or a business that only 1% of people have any interest in, and you can become a millionaire off of this.
What was your first business? So, my first business, it's a little bit embarrassing now, but at the time I thought it was cool. So I was 14 years old, and I had just gotten a leopard gecko for Christmas. This is a pet that I actually still have to this day. Turns out they live 20 plus years. And I went to my dad and I was like, I want to start this business, but I don't know what I should do. And he's like, okay, well, what do you know really well? And I was like, well, I guess I know how to take care of my pet gecko. And he's like, well, do something with that. So I took his advice and I wrote a little ebook about how to take care of your pet gecko. And I built a website and I put it online and I bought Google AdWords and I ran traffic to the website. And pretty soon it started to work. And by the time I was about 15 years old, it was making $1,000 a month. And when you're 15 years old and you're making $1,000 a month, I mean, you're practically a millionaire. So it was definitely a pretty exciting time.
Once you're really, really interested in something, go down that rabbit hole, start gaining mastery. Through the process of gaining mastery, that'll either turn into a passion or you realize you're not interested. And I don't believe passions are something that you have and you uncover. It's an interest that you go down the path of gaining mastery, and through that process you'll realize whether you love this enough and the outcome that you see enough to fight through the boredom, the hard times, all of that. And if it is, then you keep going, you keep pushing. That energy, enthusiasm that comes from being passionate is going to give you the ability, quite frankly, to become extraordinary at it. And the only path to success is to become extraordinary. Set the bar ridiculously high and surpass all expectations. That's it. That's the only way to dazzle another human being, and you're trying to sell to human beings. So find that thing where you have, you're so good at it that now you have intuition. Because intuition is based on experience. You've been through, it's pattern recognition. You've been through it so many times. You see all the patterns that other people don't see. You're able to really, not only just see where the puck is, you can feel where it's going. And people have that in their life. In some area, there's something, maybe cooking, whatever, there's something they know well enough that they can do a pinch of and they know what that means, right? I hate cooking, so for me, I never got, a pinch, how much, man? I need to be able to put it on a scale. I don't know what a pinch is. So getting to the point where you know something so well that you know whether it's a pinch and a half, a big pinch, a small pinch, whatever. You've developed a gut instinct. That's when you can be unique.
And this is where I think people actually become entrepreneurs. It's where they've gotten so much value from this thing, right? They've learned, they've studied, they've whatever it is, they've got so much passion in this thing that eventually it's they're gonna explode if they don't share with other people. And that's the transition from I'm a normal person to I'm an entrepreneur. I'm so obsessed with this thing, I don't care if I never make money, I just want to get this in people's hands.
So I wondered, if passion is the key, why do so many passionate people fail?
The reason most people don't do well in business and financially and with money is because they don't even understand money. And the thing that they don't understand is that money is just a convenient method of making transactions so that I don't have to drag my cows around with me all day to trade for your, the 300 pair of shoes that you've got somewhere. And so money makes it convenient. So it's just a convenient method of making a transaction. Now here's what most people don't get. Where do you get all your money from? In my seminars, people will yell out, from my business, from my job, from the bank, from the government, from the universe. No, you don't get your money from, your business or your job or the bank or the universe or trees or the sky or the birds or any. It doesn't fall from the head. The only way you get any money is from one source, and that one source is from other people. People are the only element in the universe that actually uses a currency called money. All the money you get must therefore then what? Come from where? Other people. Here's the big question then. Why would someone give you their money? Here's a better question. Why would you give someone else their money? Your money. And the answer is, the only way someone's going to give you their money or you give someone else your money is because they are going to help you. That they are going to, in a nutshell, solve a big or a little problem for you. That's what you're paying them for. I mean, because there's no reason to give them money if they're not going to solve a problem for you. That's what people pay for. Generally solve a little pain or a big pain. So that's what you get paid for. So what do you get paid for? You get paid for solving problems. That's what you do.
So when you think about a business, what I want people to think about is I want to think about solving a problem. Like if you really want to, let's just say you want to start a business, you have no idea what it is. Just start thinking about problems. That's number one. Like you're driving a car, there's a problem. I'm playing sports, there's a problem. I get dressed in the morning, there's a problem. A better time, solve a problem.
And so sometimes we know we have the problem, an entrepreneur solves it or works on solving it. Sometimes we don't know we have the problem, an entrepreneur exposes us to the fact that there is a problem and then solves it. That's the goal of the entrepreneur. Along the way, if you do good work, you'll make money doing that. There's no way to not. There's no way to help 1 million people and not make money. It's just like you're standing in the middle of a stream. You can't stand in the middle of a river and not get wet.
See, money is simple, and success is actually simple. All you're going to do is you're going to solve a problem for one person. They're going to pay you that 1 unit of money. Now, how do you make some money? Well, you solve that same problem for some people, and now you get some money. How do you make a lot of money? You solve that same problem for a lot of people. And there you go. So the idea, when I ask people, how many of you would like to make a lot of money? Everybody raises their hand. I say, how many of you would like to help a lot of people? Everybody raises their hand. I go, perfect, because that's all you have to do. If you want to make a lot of money, go out there and help a lot of people. Case closed.
There are problems that are glaring issues that people like Elon Musk will solve. And he'll say, well, the planet is going to shit. We haven't really invested in space travel in a few decades. We have the technology to make better cars, better energy, better space travel. We're not doing it, someone needs to do it. So I'm gonna step up and I'm going to reject the idea that it can't be done. I'm gonna take things back to first principles, as he would say, and I'm gonna start building batteries from scratch and building rockets from scratch, and it's gonna work. Guys like him. Then you have guys like Jobs, who are not identifying existing problems, but they're identifying problems we didn't know we had and then agitating that problem in the market. So they're saying, you didn't know you needed an iPhone? Guess what you do? And you suck because you don't have it.
One of the most controversial anticipated features, a price tag rumored to be upwards of $1,000.
I have a friend who earned $46,000 in 1 month. She was 79. Guess what she did? Online, she was marketing and she sold drug-free urine. Because where she lived at the automobile manufacturing place in Detroit, they did random drug tests. And many of the people lost their jobs because they had drugs in their urine. So she got a website called Drug Free Urine. So she sold little samples of urine. She went on to talk to all of her friends and had them to urinate in a pot and she had little vials, and so when people go take a drug test, they had it in their purse or in their pants, they took it out and put it in the thing. I'm not telling people to go do this, whatever, but I'm saying it's great to be in America. It is great to live in this point in time.
We can't use it.
That's it. Okay.
Come up with something else.
That was an awesome business model. I can sell that so well.
Oh, Les. I want to know how you know about this lady, Les.
Endorse it.
All right.
Okay. We're going to do real quick another inspirational story.
I mean, don't you think that's great?
Todd?
So, now that I really had heard of everything, there was one question left on my mind. How do we test between a good idea and a crazy one?
And then here's the other thing. Here's your litmus test for your problem. Tell 10 people about the problem. And first off, if you can't describe it in 30 seconds or less, go to another problem. And then if like at least half or something or more don't respond to the problem, go find another problem.
So with that in mind, I hit the streets to ask people. If somebody made a movie that showed you all the steps to start your own business and launch your first company, would you watch that movie?
Yeah, probably.
Would you watch it? Would you watch that movie?
Yes, I would. Yeah, if it was a documentary that followed people that were pursuing it and kind of like the hits and misses of each business's launch, I think that would be, because you learn from people's mistakes. So if you can see the way that people fail and the way that they succeed, you learn from both sides.
I think it's more the step, for me, it's a step-by-step of like how to.
Would you watch that documentary?
At this point in my life, probably not.
Would you guys watch it?
Of course. I always seek knowledge. Every day. I'll definitely watch.
Successful. Would you watch that documentary?
Probably not, being honest.
That's all right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is that a documentary that you would watch?
Yeah, sure.
Well, now that I knew my idea didn't totally suck, I had to wonder if there was a better way to test on a larger scale. And who better to ask than Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington, inventor of the infomercial. How do you test if you have a good idea?
So in the old days, it was very expensive. We had to actually produce a TV commercial and go on TV. Chubby Checker came in and showed me something he called the Twisticizer, and it was, he had created the song The Twist. And so this was a fitness product that had to be engineered and manufactured and tooled and all this stuff. We invested $500,000 in his idea and then brought it to the market, and it bombed. It was terrible. And I say, investing in a fitness product with a man named Chubby may not have been a great idea to begin with, but it may sound funny, but it was my money that I lost, right? So nowadays though, if somebody brings me an idea like that, we can test in a digital way. You can do crowdfunding. You can test $5 Facebook ads. Go get proof of concept somewhere before you invest any big money. Take it to the flea market. Put it in a catalog. Put it on a shopping channel. Do something very easy or low cost before you go spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars.
You build it just with the graphics. Start advertising that. See if people actually want to buy that. And those things were impossible because an entrepreneur, the hardest thing is how do you raise capital, right? And then you commit for years to build something that you're not sure people actually want.
But the biggest mistake people make, especially in the entrepreneur field, is testing with their friends or asking their friends if they like things, because the friends a lot of times are afraid to give you the bad news. So, my best friend that I ever had is a guy, best friend for me in business, is a guy who would always give me the negatives of what I was doing. He made me mad, pissed me off a lot of times, but I would change things because of him. And I'm not going to say his name because I don't want him to get any credit.
I had a nurse that brought me a product, had nothing to do with nursing, and she came in and she had invested $150,000, had borrowed against her house, and made 5,000 pieces of a product that she thought of. She invented it, designed it, engineered it, and manufactured it, and had 5,000 pieces in inventory. And I said, what motivated you to make 5,000 pieces of this? She said, well, I just thought nobody's going to want it unless I have it. But I'm like, no, but you make the prototype and then show it to people and then get orders, then go make it. I don't make things unless I got an order. So, it's if people are out there right now thinking about doing something, there's so many ways that you can test things, but always get proof of concept before you invest any big money.
The first step in any business is, does somebody want to buy this? I mean, a lot of people want to go out and run surveys and focus groups and all this. There's no better focus group or survey than just taking something that you've created and just trying to sell it. So I always ask, somebody brings me an idea, I always ask, how many of them have you sold? It's like, oh, well, it's still in idea mode. I've sold lots of things before they existed. So I've built websites for products that didn't yet exist and sold them. Now this is important, we didn't collect the money because that's called stealing. On the other page it's like, oh, sorry, we're back ordered, we haven't charged your credit card. But I just want to find out, is somebody going to be willing to pay for something? That's the ultimate indication, because if you ask your friends, I've got this idea, what do you think? If unless you got mean friends, they're gonna say, it's great, it's brilliant. You should definitely do that. Even if you go out to customers that you have and say, hey customers, we're thinking about building this new product, this new service, do you want it? That'd be great, we'd love to have it. Asking somebody's opinion versus saying, will you buy it? That's different. So I always just want to find out, can we sell it?
A perfect example is Tesla. So when they were first planning on building this car, they actually had a waiting list and made everyone pay $100,000 to be on this waiting list. Once that waiting list was full, only then did they actually start building the car.
Would you stand in line to buy a car that you've never seen before? That's what's happening around the world as people are standing in line to be among the first to plop down $1,000 to reserve a new Tesla Model 3, and many even camped out overnight.
Always step one is just, can I sell one? If I can sell one, I can probably sell 100. But if I can't sell one, then everything else is irrelevant.
Look, here is the new Band-Aid plastic strip with new Super Stick. It sticks better than any other bandage. The proof? Take a dry egg at room temperature. Touch the egg with any other bandage. Brand X, brand Y, brand Z. Not one sticks. But a Band-Aid plastic strip with new Super Stick sticks tight instantly. Watch it again in slow motion. No pressure, yet we can lift the egg, even boil it.
Your coffee, sir.
Thanks, beautiful.
You're welcome.
How can such a pretty wife make such bad coffee?
I heard that.
A man-sized Remington electric shaver will give you a close, comfortable shave, no matter how tender your skin. Look at this amazing demonstration. The Remington is so gentle that it can shave the short, close fuzz off a peach without harming its tender skin.
You've always got to ask yourself, what does my product actually do? Or what does my service actually do? Human beings are only ever buying one of two things. We're either buying transformation or we're buying identity reinforcement, right? So nobody ever bought a Rolex because they wanted to know what time it was, right? Somebody buys a Rolex because they want to reinforce this identity of success and high status. Right? You've got to understand, if you're trying to sell Rolexes, that what you're selling is an increase in status. You have to know that. If you're selling somebody a spoon, right, you have to know that they don't actually care about the composite makeup of the spoon. They're simply trying to get some type of food from a bowl to their mouth, right? That's what they're seeking to accomplish. So getting crystal clear on, why does anybody buy this? Like, what's the use case? The product, the service, it's a vehicle. It's a vehicle. It transports people from less desirable before states to more desirable after states. That's it.
Every entrepreneur must be able to sell. Why? How does a business survive? Where does revenue come from? Sales. Where do sales come from? People. How do people get sold? You sell them, right? So I don't care if you're running a dry cleaning business or if you are a big multinational corporation, you gotta sell.
Sell me this pen.
Could you sell me this pen? Do you think you could sell me this pen right now? Could you sell me this pen?
It was a video on YouTube with the guys like, sell me this pen.
Without this, you won't be able to write a check.
Might be an issue.
And could either of you sell me this pen? No. Could you sell me this pen?
I can sell you the pen. See this pen?
Look at the phenomenal outside casing on it. Very smooth, easy to touch. Great writing instrument for you. It's small, fits in any pocket. Really nice.
Write me your name.
I can.
Pen.
Perfect, I'll buy it.
Amazing. Big ballpoint. When you write it, it's very clear. You can see it very well. I don't have the cap right now, but I can ship that to you at a later price for free.
One last thing. Do you think you could sell me this pen?
I could try.
And do you think you could sell me this pen?
Yeah.
Right now, I have the black right here. We also have red, white, yellow, all different colors. Big. Yeah, I see. Big.
It's a nice gray pen. It's a ballpoint pen, I believe. It writes, I'd say, probably writes decently well.
So, when do you not need a pen? There's always a time where you need one, whether you're writing a check, if you still do that, or if you need to scribble something down. And this pen will last for months because there's tons of ink in here to utilize, and it doesn't bleed, so it won't get all over your hands.
Perfect, I'll buy it. Thank you. I think that's it. And could you sell me this pen?
Probably not.
You're not the first person to say that.
What's the story I need to tell? Like, I'm not gonna tell them why this is the best marker in the world. I wanna explain the story about how I found out that's the best marker. And if I tell that story, then they're like, whoa, that's cool. I want that marker too.
Yeah.
Can you sell me the pen?
Well, see, now I've had all this practice. I've seen all these good answers.
But that's the whole point. You can't use those answers.
Can't use. See, but I've already cheated because I know what Russell Brunson told me to do. Russell Brunson told me to tell the story of how I found out this was the best pen and then tell somebody else that story. So if I was, let's say, I was a lawyer and I was writing all day and I had this problem where my hand was always cramping, and so every day I had to sign like 300 checks a day and I had to fill out all this paperwork, and my hand is cramping and I was constantly running out of ink until finally I found this pen, and when I found this pen, then I was finally able to, get through all my work. My hands weren't crampy at all, and it totally revolutionized my productivity. So I think that's what Russell Brunson would tell you to do. Tell the story of how you discovered this was the best pen.
I think the best example of that is watching Antiques Roadshow. We bring this desk up, talk to ladies. So what do you think it's worth? I don't know. It's been in my basement, for the last 45 years. My grandfather always used to say something about John F. Kennedy, but we don't know.
I went to a garage sale.
And how long ago was this?
This was about 30 years ago.
What do you think it's worth? Well, we'll be happy to get like $300 for it, right? So they bring it to the guy, and he looks at it, and he's doing all this stuff.
Which is where they work.
No Massachusetts.
And it's a little bit deteriorated, but you can still read it.
Yes.
And that's just extraordinary because it's so rare to find label pieces.
Yeah.
Do you know what you have here is actually John F. Kennedy's actual desk from Camp David. And people have been looking for that. You said your dad worked for him, yes, blah, blah, and the whole story comes out. And yeah, they've been looking for this desk. Nobody knew what happened, blah, 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 after he died.
The estimate we're going to give you is going to top that.
Oh, yes.
I think Les and I both feel that this piece in the open marketplace.
And they say, this desk right now would probably sell for $250,000 at auction. Oh my goodness, lady shakes and everything.
Would be in the range of about $200,000 to $225,000.
Wow.
Okay? Now,
Is the desk worth $250,000? Itself, no, it's the story behind it, right? So all of these things are very, very important. We have to understand how can we tap into that emotion where we can get somebody to say, well, that identical desk that came off the assembly line is worth nothing, but this one happened to be John F. Kennedy's. Why is it worth $250,000? So the story behind the marketing sometimes can add some incredible value.
And perhaps the best example of how story can impact value is none other than the Pet Rock.
For those fortunate few who do not know, pet rocks have been adopted and pampered by owners who claim stones are cleaner, quieter, easier to care for than other pets, and less likely to run away, die, or multiply.
The rock that made one man a millionaire.
It's been incredible. We mailed our first pet rocks to the stores October 1st, and by Christmas we'll have sold well over 1 million units. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen.
In the summer of 1975, Gary Dahl came up with the idea to market rocks as living pets that came in cardboard houses, complete with straw beds, breathing holes, and even tiny instruction manuals. And although the rocks were nothing special, the story and the marketing behind them made the Pet Rock one of the top-selling gifts of that Christmas season. And even though the fad only lasted for about 6 months, with sales dropping off in early February of the following year,
spokesmen for the May Company say that they are beginning to get returns of the Pet Rock.
it was still long enough for Dahl to cash out with a cool $1.5 million. Let's say that again. Some guy sold rocks in boxes and made millions.
Or lying on a beach someplace, not caring about it.
But all of this begs the question, what exactly goes into an amazing story, and how can you craft yours?
What are like the 2 or 3 things that every good story needs for it to be successful?
So the beginning is every good story starts with the backstory, right? A lot of times, especially if we're trying to convince somebody, we like to show our like highlight reel, like this is how great I am. And because I think that people think that means they'll respect you more and then they'll want to come towards you, and the exact opposite's true. When you share your highlight reel, it distances you from people.
Here's what people think a story is. People think a story is, time to talk about myself, build my credibility, I won this award, I'm this, I'm certified, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. And they're missing the boat. They're at the other side of the table. They're literally killing the sale. A story is meant to build connection, relationship, and to be able to really build relatability.
I want to come back to where that person is right now. I'm like, oh, I was in the same situation as you. In fact, when I was 14 years old, and I'm coming to where they're at, right? Because that's going to build rapport of like, oh, we're here together. That's why every movie, if you think about it, every movie on starts with the hero is in some location, and you spend the first 10% of every movie is the audience trying to build rapport with the character, right? Because if Frodo would have left the Shire in the first like 5 seconds, we would not have cared in this whole journey, right? But the first 10% of the movie, we're sitting there with Frodo in his hometown and meeting Bilbo and like getting connection, like, wow, this, like we have a vested interest in this character now. And now we'll follow him to Mordor to throw the ring in the fire because like we care about him as a character.
Right? Your story has to not be about you. Your story has to be about your journey to discovering your product.
And then this is the last one. So this is the Epiphany Bridge we talked about a little earlier. And this is kind of the process. This is like all entrepreneurs before they change from normal humans to entrepreneurs, right? Something happened and it was like, oh my gosh, I need to sell stuff online. Oh my gosh, I want to lose weight. Oh my gosh, I want to, whatever their oh my gosh moment was, they had the epiphany of like, this thing is the future. And they start geeking out, and then they go on this path where they're studying it, they're learning about it, and then they geek out, and then they go and they logically try to convince all their friends. They spew out all the technobabble. And so again, the key for the Epiphany Bridge is not for us as entrepreneurs to get good at explaining the technical reasons why our thing's good. It's to come back on this path. And sometimes it's hard to remember, what was it that got me excited? A good example is I have a friend who's a chiropractor, and he was trying to learn these marketing things and figure stuff out, and he's running ads, and his ads are like every other chiropractic ad, like come in for a free massage, come in for 2-for-1 discount, come, like every other person's ads. And I'm like, and he was trying to do funnels, but wasn't having success. And I was like, dude, all your stuff looks like every other chiropractor. He's like, that's how chiropractors do it. I'm like, that's why they all suck at making money. I was like, why did you really become a chiropractor? Because a lot of times we forget this part. It's so second nature, like this thing happened. He's like thinking, and he's like, actually, he's like, what happened? He's like, I was actually in school. I married my wife. His name's Chad, and her name's Amber. So I married Amber, and I was going to be a dentist. I always wanted to be a dentist. I was going to dental school, and then what happened was my wife got in a really bad car accident, and we took her to a medical doctor, and he didn't know what to do. We took her to all these other things, and like nothing worked. To a physical therapist, like all sorts of stuff, and she was just in so much pain, like she couldn't leave the bed, and it was hard on our marriage, it was hard on our family, like it was just horrible. And then one day we decided to go to chiropractor, which is funny because I always thought chiropractors were quacks, but I was like, whatever. Let's just try whatever. So we take the chiropractor, and he pops her back and her ribs back into alignment, and almost instantly she was out of pain. And he's like, it had such a profound impact, not only on her to get out of pain, but on me, to see how my wife was in pain, and like this guy's hands were able to get her out of pain. He's like, I wanted to do that for the people. So he's like, I went back to school the next day, I changed my major, and I became a chiropractor. I got chills just retelling that right now. I was like, dude, if you tell that story, like, that is the reason why if someone saw a video of you on Facebook telling that story and showing B-roll of like your wife and your kids, like they will drive past the 12 other chiropractors between them and your house, or their house and you, because they have a connection with you. Like people do business people they connect with, and so if you can tell that story, like that's the key. So he did. He made videos telling that story, ran Facebook ads to it, and he's averaging between 30 and 40 new clients a week off Facebook ads telling that story, bringing people into his practice. It's like that's the key.
But could story really be the holy grail of all modern advertising? Who better to ask than the duo who brought us what has been called the greatest viral ad in the history of the internet.
This is where your ice cream comes from. The creamy poop of a mystic unicorn. Totally clean, totally cool, and soft served straight from a sphincter. They're good at pooping. But you know who sucks at pooping? You do. That's because when you sit on a porcelain throne, this muscle puts a kink in the hose and stops the Ben & Jerry's from sliding out smoothly. Is that a problem? I don't know, are hemorrhoids a problem? Because sitting at this angle can cause hemorrhoids, bloating, constipation, and a buttload of other crap. And seriously, unicorn hemorrhoids? The glitter gets everywhere. But what happens when you go from a sit to a squat? Voila, this muscle relaxes and that kink goes away faster than Pegasus laying sweet sherbet dookie. Now your colon's open and ready for battle. That's because our bodies were made to poop in a squat, and now there's a product that lets you squat in your own home. Introducing the Squatty Potty. No, Squatty Potty is not a joke. And yes, it will give you the best poop of your life, guaranteed. I don't just mean you bloated lords and hemorrhoidal ladies. I mean everyone.
We did it on Facebook, I think, 24 hours or 48 hours later. And it just started getting shared like crazy and ended up with over 20 million views in the first week. And they had actually stockpiled inventory to be able to ship to all of the customers, but they turned on multiple factories 24/7 to keep up with the demand. Their retail sales in Bed Bath & Beyond jumped by 400%. Their online sales were up 600%. It eclipsed they had a huge bump from Shark Tank, and the unicorn video eclipsed that in sales.
Simply put, we're in the business to help you do your business.
So I had to wonder, what was the secret recipe that made this ad so successful?
So you'll notice most of our ads use a spokesperson, and that's not by accident. So think about Nike and Under Armour. Think about some of the print ads that you see in magazines. You know, beautiful image, got this fit model on there, and then Nike down in the bottom corner with the tagline, right? Take out that logo and replace it with an Under Armour logo, and then look at the ad. It still works, right? It's beautiful, fit model.
Or for Adidas, or for Reebok,
Yeah.
or for on down the list, right?
Yeah, these big brands who have these massive, they have these massive branding budgets, they can get away with doing some pretty generic advertising. But for the little guys who are trying to compete for mindshare, anything generic is not going to work. The little guys have to have something that's very memorable. And it turns out the most memorable thing on earth is story, right? That's the way things have been passed down through the centuries is through storytelling, because that's what we're wired to remember. That's what sticks in our brains. And so when we create a character that has a backstory, then all of a sudden that character lodges itself in your brain, in your memory. And by doing so, the brand lodges itself in your brain and in your memory. And so you can take a tiny little company like a Chatbooks or like a Squatty Potty, and all of a sudden they're punching way above their weight in terms of brand recognition, brand awareness. They don't have the budget of a Nike or a Coca-Cola or an Apple, but yet people remember the pooping unicorn, right?
And so people sometimes are like, oh, the key to it is just be really funny, like the Squatty Potty video, or like the Purple, or the Chatbooks video, or Fiberfix, or whatever it is. And yes, that's an element of it, but if you don't stay focused on taking your customer through the steps to where they can see how, oh, that's how this product or service is going to solve my problem, and that's why I need to buy it. If you don't carefully take them through that, they'll bail, they'll be gone.
But there's this concept that your customer is always the hero in their own journey, and your brand or your brand character is just a guide in the customer's journey. So thinking of Star Wars, you've got Luke Skywalker, who meets Obi-Wan, who is his guide, and Obi-Wan provides him with a tool, a lightsaber, and gives him guidance so that Luke can be the hero in his own journey. And in the same way, we try to set up our brand characters as Obi-Wan, right? And the product is like the lightsaber. It's a tool. So Camp Chef is a great example where you've got the grill god.
Bad gritters are sin. Repent. I'm the grill god.
The grill god guides the average Joe to be able to cook 5-star food and guides him to the Woodwind grill, which is, you know, the tool. It's the product.
So what will it be? Convenience or flavor? Too bad you can have the best of both worlds in one grill. Don't tell me what I can't do. I'm the grill god. Introducing the Woodwind Grill and Smoker by Camp Chef for flavor meets convenience.
An average Joe becomes the hero of his cul-de-sac barbecue, right?
The barbecue legend of the whole wide cul-de-sac.
Another thing I'd add to your advertising as far as a cheat code goes is just having a really great call to action.
So click now to get your Woodwind Grill today and become the grill master of your neighborhood. The Woodwind Grill and Smoker by Camp Chef.
That's one of the things that infomercials and all direct response marketing has done very well all the way along, is having a very clear call to action that people know what website they're going to go visit, what button they're going to click, what link they're going to click, what action they're going to take next, and then it's just a matter of deciding whether or not you're going to do it. But if you just kind of leave it open-ended, or you're too afraid to ask people to actually buy and engage with them in that way, then I think you're doing a little bit of a disservice, actually, to yourself and to your customer.
So now that I knew how to sell and craft a winning ad, I wondered, how could we really take our companies to the next level?
You've got to be a really good talent scout, because no matter how smart you are, you need a team of great people, and you've got to figure out how to size people up fairly quickly, make decisions without knowing people too well, and hire them, and see how you do and refine your intuition, and be able to help build an organization that can eventually just build itself, because you need great people around you.
There are millions of companies doing less than $1 million. There's a small fraction of that doing more than $1 million, less than 5, and it drops off. And companies at the revenue rate of Bulletproof right now, there's 17,000 of them in the US. The difference between the companies that pass $1 million and the companies that stay below $1 million, the so-called wantrepreneur, or the person who bought themselves a paycheck, basically. They work 80 hours a week and they make as much as they would make if they just went to work for another company, but they're stressed all the time. Those are the people who will not hire a team, or worse, they hire a bad team.
So unless you're able to step away and hire more people and allow them to do the work, you'll never bust through the million. You'll never bust through the million.
Building a team is absolutely essential. I mean, business is too complicated. I think about marketing. The role of marketing. That's what we do here. It's the thing that I'm, really good at. I can't do all facets of marketing. Think about everything that marketing is today. Marketing. There's content marketing, search, social, email. You need to be doing analytics, optimization, right? Media buying, paid traffic, those kind of things. Who's going to architect the funnel? Who's going to make sure that the math all makes sense, right? That's like 8 or 9 things that I just described to just do one aspect of business. So I know there's a lot of people who say that, I don't want to have a team, I don't want to have a lot of employees because I want to be free. If it's up to you to do everything, you are not free. That is like the opposite of free. And so I'll tell you, people can be tough. People can break your heart. But I think it's like any great relationship in our lives. It can be really, really difficult, but it can also be one of the most gratifying things you'll ever do. So no, I love having partners in this mission. I love that there's folks out there who believe in what we're doing and they want to be involved with it.
If you look at any of the most successful companies or entrepreneurs in the world, what you may or may not realize is they have a huge team behind them. Yeah. So it's finding and allowing, giving people permission to do things that you're not good at. Because I know what I'm not good at. Clinton knows what he's not good at. And that's why you have a partner, essentially, hopefully, that supplements you in some way. Mm-hmm. You may not want an exact replica of yourself. You might want someone that has skills that you don't have. So when I'm looking for a partner, or for even employees, or for people working with us in whatever capacity, I'm generally looking for things that I'm not good at, because I want help in those areas, and I'm willing to break my ego down and say, I'm not good at that. I need help with sales. I need help with whatever it is.
And I'll give the most obvious example, right? Steve Jobs. Well, he had Wozniak, right? And Wozniak is a genius, right? And Steve Jobs did not manage to build the new architecture of the hardware that enabled the first Apple, or all of those other things that happened there, right? He had this genius with him that did it. And Wozniak was not the guy that could sell it and market it, right? And the combination is what enabled something better. And I'm sure if you look for history, you'll find that there was a dozen people with them that were very, very good at what they did to enable that company to happen. Same thing was at Microsoft. Same thing is everywhere.
What to look for in people when you're hiring them varies greatly based on what stage you're in. If you are, like I did with Bulletproof, if you are bootstrapping your company and you don't have a lot of extra financial assets, I had just moved countries, I'd spent a year working for like half pay and had very little in my liquid assets account when I started Bulletproof. So I was literally taking money out of my paycheck from a big tech company and paying other people from it while supporting a family of 2. So I'm like, all right, what am I going to hire for? I'm going to hire for people who have a proven ability to figure stuff out, even if they figure it out terribly. Nowhere near as good as I would do it because I've got 25 years of experience and I've failed enough times to learn. But that's better than someone who isn't going to try because they're afraid. Right? So I hired for cheap and willing to give it a shot and smart enough to figure it out.
I want to see, first of all, so let's interview somebody who's at marketing, right? Which is kind of one of the things. And I want to see somebody that doesn't talk to me so much with big words. If you talk to me too much with big words, I assume that you don't know the details. I want to see people that explain to me how and why they did things. And that they are focusing on the doing, right? Some people just do more. And then I want them to see that they actually can understand why the did fits a strategy, okay? So this is the thing I'm looking for, right? So somebody who can go to with details and explain to me why he did something. But I want to ask it. I was asking him, tell me about what he did there, and then I want to listen to the answer, right? Because I want to be able to see that they prefer to do than think about all the fancy things.
Hire folks who are better than you at specific things. That can be really intimidating, especially for entrepreneurs. Every entrepreneur goes out and they're like, I wish I could find another person like me. The people like you are running their own companies. They're not going to come work for you. You're not going to find that person. That's a unicorn, right? But what you can find is you can find someone who's better than you at this sliver of the business that probably you don't want to do anyway. And so when we first started off, I mean, I made a list of what's all the things I really hate doing. And I first hired somebody to do the things that I hated doing I was bad at. That was easy to hand off. Please, take it. Go and do it. And usually that looks like some type of, administrative task or an operational task. Like things like going and checking the mail and make sure the bills get paid, stuff like that. Here, take it. And then it was, what are the things that maybe I enjoy, but I'm not as good at? So for me, that was stuff like web design. Right? I could build a web page, I can do it, I'm functional, but am I great at it? No. So let's bring some designers in to help. The hardest one to let go of are the things that you're really good at and you enjoy. But if you want to really scale as an entrepreneur, you have to do it. And so that's what I would just say is every time we've done that, the person that we brought in to do that role, they're better at that one thing than I am. And I can rest in that.
But even with all that, still, a whopping 83% of all businesses will fail, leaving only 1% to ever make it into the multi-millions. So I was curious.
Why do you think it is that so many businesses fail?
The first is the person running it, and the second is the person running it. So either they don't know what they're doing, or they have an inner self, a mindset, habits, beliefs, character that are not supportive to success.
Like once you understand that that's really the game that you're playing, that you want to turn inward, that you want to figure out how you work, you want to gain mastery over that process, gain mastery over your emotions.
I'm going to say this right now, and most people shudder when I say it. You only have one problem in your life, and it's you. And if your business is not doing as well as you'd like it to be, the only one reason is you. That's it. Now that's great news. Why? Because the only thing you can actually control in your whole life is who? You.
Like it's been my observation that people pretty much never have business problems. They have life problems that reflect in their business. So every time someone's got a business problem, it's a life problem. Like the best advice I can really give someone is to work on yourself and your life and it will just reflect into your business.
And at about that time, a mentor gave me a piece of advice that really finally sunk in. And he said, Mike, if you want to make a certain amount of money per month, you really have to become an individual that's capable of making that kind of money. And until then, I had always pursued business opportunities or companies or products or marketing systems, and I always thought success was going to come as a result of one of those outside factors.
And people will look and they'll say, like, why isn't my business growing, or why am I not making sales? And they'll be like, oh, it's something strategic. It's a skills gap that I've got. But more often than not, it's not a skills gap, it's actually a mindset gap.
Your thoughts lead to your feelings, which lead to your actions, which lead to your results. Again, your thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, lead to results. So if you want to, whatever result you're getting is because of your what? Your action. Where did the action come from? It came from a feeling. Where did that feeling come? It comes from your thoughts. So that's all about you. So it's your thoughts, your feelings, your actions that produces an outside result. Your inner world creates your outer world for that reason. And again, people are always going, that's soft stuff, that's soft, I go, okay, I don't, so you want to let's call it soft. Let's call it the software of success. Because if you took a computer, the hardware of a computer hardware, how intelligent is it? It's dumb. It's a piece of plastic or metal, and that's it. It's stupid. The only thing that makes it run, the only thing that makes it incredible is the what? The software. So go ahead and tell me that the idea about the importance of your mindset, your beliefs, your habits, your character is not as important as your strategies. That would be simply just like saying, the hardware is more important than the software that's in it. If you got a problem in what's coming up on your screen, it's generally not going to be in the hardware, in the strategies. It's going to be in the software. And it's the same thing.
Many people don't pursue their dreams and don't develop the entrepreneurial part of themselves because we've been programmed to fail. We're born with greatness. But when you live in a world where you are told constantly about your limitations, about your mistakes, and your limitations are now the things that you look at, as opposed to looking at, I have something in me that can go past this.
When I think about mindset, it's choice. It's a choice to wake up and say, I'm going into the arena today and I'm going to just show up however that looks. I'm going to show up in the mess, I'm going to show up in the good, but I'm going to believe that there are no glass ceilings, because the ceilings are the things that we put right on top of us that keep us from going up.
First, you have to believe in yourself. You have to, your mind is really the biggest blocker of what you can be. So it's not about who you are, it's about who you want to be. Never look at in the glass being half empty or half full. Always focus on saying, do I want to fill this glass? If I want to fill this glass, does it really matter is half empty or half full? And if I don't care to fill this glass, do I really care is half empty or half full? So it's about the mindset of what it can be, not what it is.
I think about goals and I think about mindset as if you are like inside of a car. So you're driving along, you're in the driver's seat, you've got the opportunity to be, do, create and have anything that you want in this world. And you've got a GPS system in that car. That is your goals, it's your vision, it's what you're driving towards. And if you haven't got that GPS, then how are you going to know where to go?
You need to visualize what you want to achieve. Because once you start visualizing what you want to achieve, and in my case it was $875,000, you know what happens? The ideas start to come. So instead of having a $50,000 idea, you're going to have an $875,000 idea because you've just expanded it, right? So whatever your goals are, that's where your thinking will go.
Let's do an exercise, you and me. And you don't have to give me the answers, but I'll kind of prod you through it, and hopefully people listening can get involved also. So if you're doing it, then everyone listening, hopefully, or watching should be doing it too. All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of two numbers. How many numbers?
2.
2 numbers, thank you. I want you to think 5 years from today, what is your income, your annual income, that's one number, and what is your net worth, both 5 years from today. And again, you don't have to say it out loud. Just think of a number. What is your income 5 years from today? You got that number in your head?
Yeah.
Good. What is your net worth 5 years from today? Got it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's leave that for a second. So one of the things we teach is that rich people play the money game to win. Most other people, unsuccessful people, play the money game not to lose. And here's the problem. Any game you play in sports or anything else, and you play not to lose on defense versus offense, what's your chances of winning that game? If you're strictly on defense, you've got no chance of winning. And that's the way most people play the money game. That's the way most people play the business game. They play to make a living. They play to earn enough to be comfortable. You know what? Business is way too hard to just earn a living from it. If you're going to put all that time, energy, money, and tension on it, you better freaking get rich or don't bother. Go get a job somewhere. You can earn a decent living like that. Let's go back to your exercise here, okay? Here's what I want you to do. The first number and the second number, I want you to add a 0 to both of them. Right now.
All right.
And think for a second. Close your eyes and think for a second. How does that make you feel? I mean, really, be honest. Because for a lot of people, that's going to make them nervous. They're going to say to themselves, that's ridiculous. I mean, my number was pretty big to begin with. Now it's stupid. It's unrealistic. Who needs this kind of money? I don't need this kind of money. It's never going to happen. What if I fail at it? If I put that number, what if I fail at it? Okay? Here's the issue. Whatever you're thinking right now is actually your money blueprint staring you in the face. It is the beliefs that you have staring you in the face. And for a lot of people, those are not positive. Now, for other people, they went, that odd 0, they went, whoa, I don't know why I was thinking so small. That's more like me. And they really mean it. I don't just want that. That is appropriate number for me. And then they've got a much better handle on it. And the problem with most people, as you've heard the saying many, many times before, is if you shoot for the stars, you're at least going to hit the moon. Most people don't even shoot for the ceiling in their house, and they wonder what the problem is. And the problem isn't that your goals are too high and you miss them, is that your goals are too low and you hit them. And that's the problem. When you go for low, you're going to get low. Yeah, but I don't want to be disappointed. That is a not supportive belief system. I don't want to be disappointed. Can you imagine an athlete in a World Cup or a World Series or the Super Bowl? We don't want to try to win. Well, why not? Because if we lose, we don't want to be disappointed. Those people the coach will be shot, right? That's ridiculous. No winners think like that. Winners believe they're going to win. They go for winning. They don't go for, I don't want to be disappointed, so I don't want to, let's not go for it. That's the way most people are in business. So you ask me, why do most people fail at business? Because they have those crummy beliefs that don't support them.
So if the problem is that most of us are born into a world that teaches us to think small, I had to ask myself, how can we all dream a little bigger?
So can you describe what is a moonshot?
So moonshot is this audacious idea, something that most people believe can't be done. It is impossible, but it is quite possible because we do have the footprints on the moon. So it is quite possible. So the moonshot is something that seems out of reach, but it's still people go out and do that. And the reason it's called a moonshot was when John F. Kennedy decided that we are going to go to the moon. We had no idea how or if, but we decided that's what we are going to do, and that was the moonshot.
Right. And so if there's an entrepreneur out there and they want to take a moonshot, how does somebody develop their own moonshot?
Well, so ideally, what are you so passionate about? What is it that you're willing to die for and then live for it? Imagine if you have everything that you always wanted, $1 billion, a beautiful family, and everything that you always wanted. What is it that you would do? And that becomes your calling. And the thing to really call it a moonshot is when you tell someone what you're going to do, and if they don't say it's crazy, then you're not thinking big enough. So unless someone say, that is effing crazy, you got your moonshot.
I heard you got a letter from Tim Ferriss. Yeah, so after I had kind of successfully pulled off this
Gecko ebook business, I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, and it really changed how I looked at productivity and time management. And so I was 16, I think now, and I wrote this email to Tim Ferriss proposing a 4-day school week, because I thought, if you can have a 4-hour work week, why can't you have a 4-day school week? So I wrote to Tim Ferriss and I told him about my Gecko business and how I wanted to have a 4-day school week. And he actually wrote back, and it was like, at that point in my life, it was like getting a letter from Jesus. Like this was Tim Ferriss, the ultimate entrepreneurial god in my eyes.
Do you remember what the email said? Do you still have it?
Yes, thank God for Hotmail addresses where nothing ever gets deleted. So all these years I've actually kept the email, and I think I could actually pull it up for you. 1 second. Okay, so here we go. It says, Riley, I'm very impressed with your letter, especially for a 16-year-old. You can go big places. And that was like, I got this. I don't see any issue with your proposed streamlined class week if your school will agree to give you proper credit and otherwise give you the support you need to successfully apply to good colleges. Spoiler alert, Tim, I never went to college, sorry. If you can get 90 plus in your classes and offer them this as your guarantee, without which you go back to 5 days per week, I can see this working out just fine. There are homeschooled students with similar schedules who get into Harvard each year. Hope that helps, and best of luck. Love, the Leopard Gecko. Tim. So that was pretty cool to get when I was 16 years old. And anytime I'm feeling down, I just reread this letter and I remind myself that Tim Ferriss told me I could go big places. That gives me all the drive I need.
Well, if I get to give one bit of advice, it really is just start.
Just do it. You have to be active. You can't just wish upon a star and hope that Disney takes care of it for you, Jiminy Cricket. That's not how it works. Get your ass up, do the work, and get it all going.
I have a 2-step system for success. It's very simple. Learn, and then do what you learned. And then learn some more, and do what you learned. And then learn and do, and learn and do, and learn and do, and never stop doing that, and you will be successful at anything. I don't care what it is. You want to do piano, it's the same thing. Learn what to do it.
I think a lot of people will listen and listen and listen, but then they don't ever learn and execute.
For you to really play at a high level, there are 3 things you have to do. Work hard, work smart, and work long hours. And if while you're doing that, you get deadly efficient, you'll just pull away from everybody else. So I keep a list of the most important things that I could be doing for my business at any one time, and my day always starts with that.
And I think there's a saying that I have that I picked up from a gentleman named Paul Meyer back in probably 35 years ago. And I said, whatever you vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and enthusiastically act upon, it must inevitably come to pass.
And instead of, just spending so much time on planning and, writing everything, go out and do it. Go out and start that company, start this website, start the social media, start writing, start vlogging, whatever it is that you want to do, just start doing it more than planning. And I think that's just so important because, as we already said, is you're going to learn more when you do and fail. Rather than just thinking in your head and planning or, how can I do this? Or what are my projections?
Use this movie here, use the podcast, use the video content that's out there that's for free, those kind of things, and use that as your mentor to help you get through whatever that holdup is, that fearfulness, that I want to be perfect before I do it.
So many entrepreneurs, they just doubt themselves, or they're waiting for everything to be perfect. I see it with some of my students, or I see people at events sometimes. It's like, so how's that project going? Oh, I've been working on that for about 3 years, or just a book, writing that book. And there was a great scene in 2.5 Men. And it was a scene where he wanted to be a comedian. And he says, look, it's open mic night, finally. You've been talking about doing this for 10 years. Come on, let's go. And he's putting his jacket on. No, just leave me alone. And finally, he yells at him, no, I don't want to do it. And he's like, why? And he says, you don't understand. If I go out there and find out that I can't do this, I'm going to lose my dream. And that, I remember just watching that. I was like, you know what? I think so many people are actually scared that, if they get that first failure, if it doesn't work, all this stuff that they love watching training videos and learning about this, I think they're scared that it might just shatter their dreams.
And so what I did was I just kept delaying the launch of my podcast, because as long as I was able to live in pre-launch worlds, then I couldn't be proven wrong. I couldn't be proven right, but I couldn't be proven wrong either. So it was like this nice little fairy tale world that I wanted to stay in, because the day that I launched my podcast, it's either going to succeed or fail within the course of a couple months. And if it fails, then everybody that was telling me that it was going to fail would have been right. And I would have had a hard time dealing with that. So I ended up delaying the launch of my podcast for 5 weeks. And it all started on my worst entrepreneurial moment, which was August 15th, when I decided not to press publish of my show. And I call it my $100,000 mistake, because a year later, the podcast was generating $100,000 a month and growing. And all that month and a week of me delaying did was push that, revenue back another month and a week. And so that's something that I'll never get back, and that's something that I always share with people. Hey, you're gonna have this just fear of launch. You're gonna have this imposter syndrome that's inside your head saying, who are you to put this out into the world, to interview Tim Ferriss, to interview Gary Vaynerchuk? Like, who are you to do that? And you just have to break through that and say, you know what? This may not work, but at the same time, this might work, and there's only one way to find out. Press go.
But behind you is something that I wanted to touch on. So could you explain what that is to me?
I've had two big success stories business-wise. I've built two $25 million publishing companies. And the tower you see here is called Evergrow, and that is my biggest failure to date in many ways. So in the last 15 years here in society, we've seen huge revolutions in all kinds of different legacy industries. We've seen the decentralization of the hotel and lodging industry with Airbnb. We've seen the decentralization of transportation with Uber and Lyft. We've seen the decentralization of workforces with outsourcing companies like Odesk and 99 Designs and things like that. And so I started to ask myself why someone hadn't decentralized the ag industry yet. We're growing food in California and shipping it to New York, or in China and shipping it here. And the answer was, at the end of the day, you've got to put essentially an organic farm in everybody's kitchen. And if you can do that, you can revolutionize the food industry. This was the end result after about 2 years. And so it's completely automated. It grows 36 plants at a time. All of the water and the fertilizers and the pumps are all in the base. It has a mobile app, a Wi-Fi antenna, and essentially you just drop in a seed pod. It has LED ag lights, and it starts to grow. And so you can grow about $4,000 worth of organic food a year for about $400 in run cost. And what happened 3 months before is that a competitor came out with an entirely new line of product that originally grew 3 plants, and now they had one that grew 9, and then 34, and then 54 plants at a time. And it was just as easy to use and automated as the tower here, but they went about a different methodology from an implementation standpoint that would cost about 1/3 of ours. So while this would probably retail for $2,000 to $3,000, theirs would retail for $1,000. And so here now I have competing products. They've got $20 to $30 million in funding. They're a Y Combinator, backed company out of San Jose. They've been around for 6 or 7 years. They've got an entire team and infrastructure in place. And they've just come out with a line of product that essentially beat mine in every category. So I thought, okay, well, I don't have to be the one to come up with a solution, but I can help the right solution solve the problem. So I just, at the end of the day, ended up investing in that company in one of their earlier rounds. So I've provided them with capital. I provide them with any advice that I can when it comes to marketing, and get to help a fantastic product solve the same problem. So it was an interesting journey, a lot of lessons learned. But for me, that's really what entrepreneurship is about these days. It's the people who are watching this to think far beyond what they think they're capable of, because who the hell am I? I'm just a dude in an apartment in downtown Austin who knows nothing about growing food or agriculture, that developed the first completely automated device that can change that industry.
Do you think that failing can ever be a good thing? Do you think that failing can be a positive?
You know, when you fall, you get up. When you run for marathons, if you don't fall a few times, you don't know your limits. You don't know how fast you can go. You know, so yes, absolutely, failure cannot only be a good thing, it is a good thing. It's a necessary thing if someone wants to succeed, period and simple.
You would say, why is it necessary? Well, Winston Churchill says that success is being able to go from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm.
Underneath every excuse we have, every single one is fear. So if we can take a step back and pause and kind of take an outsider's look at the conversation of, oh, I don't have enough time, it's just not the right time, I don't have the right contacts, I don't know, maybe the market's not really feeling it right now. It's fear. It's fear that we're going to fail, fall flat on our face, and look like an idiot. And nobody wants to do that. So this is, again, why the successful entrepreneurs are consistently just putting stuff out. They're constantly putting out content. They're testing the waters. Trial and error. That's how the game works. If you're afraid to fail, you're afraid to win. So you got to really face off with your fear and just like keep blowing past it.
If you are scared, you're going the right way. This is what I've learned to be true. If you are just terrified, do it. You're going the right way. And we can all be scared. I get scared. I like to pretend it's energy, there's the difference in emotion of excited and nervous. They're actually the exact same emotion with a different intention. You can decide that you're nervous and oh, this is not gonna work and I'm gonna fuck up. Or I'm excited, that's why my palms are sweating. It's the same emotion, you just have to pick what side you're on. So why not be excited? Why not be like, I'm scared that this isn't gonna work. No, I'm so excited that I know this is gonna work. And if it doesn't, you just paid for a lesson. Awesome. If this video flops, sick, I just learned so much. If this first, second, third, fourth business doesn't work, that's okay. I just paid for those lessons.
It doesn't matter if you lose the fight, it's what you learned from losing the fight. If you can figure out why you lost and how you can use that to get better every single day, or maybe you lost a deal in your business or a sales call. Why did I lose that sales call? Or why did I not get that deal with that retailer? And you can figure out why. That's why failure becomes your best friend.
And often what ends up happening is you fall, you get back up, you dust yourself off, you adjust your path accordingly, and you move forward. You fall, you get back up, you dust yourself off, you adjust yourself accordingly, and you move forward, and eventually you'll achieve your success. Failure is not a bad thing, it's just feedback.
But if it wasn't for those failures and challenges, I wouldn't be who I am and where I am right now. It is through the struggle that we find the strength, and it's actually those hard times that give us the ability to show our resilience and to show our resolve and to go on to create more amazing things.
In the past, I had so much charge behind an idea. It's like, oh, this idea. When you get that taste of an idea, you get a download, it feels so just magical, and you put it out into the world, and if it doesn't do well, back then, my identity was so attached to that idea doing well that I felt like a failure, And meanwhile, back then, I wasn't willing to adjust and go, okay, what do I need to shift? What do I need to kind of move around a little bit to make this work? I would just give up on the idea and say, oh, I would blame the idea. It was the idea, it didn't work.
Once I realized that 3 out of 4 of the things that I do are going to fail, I'm okay failing because I got to get through the 3 to get to the winner. Now, maybe it's 5 and then the winner hits, but what would happen is what I started doing was saying,